you guys.
All right.
Good morning. Good
Why
morning.
we're laughing so
We
hard
are.
because of my schedule. We're laughing. Kate told me to leave today early. She told me to stay full time.
What are you going to do? You know, you can't rein Janice in. As
No.
Janice likes to say,
You're not the boss of me.
right, that's the one. But you know, we all know who's boss. Hi, everybody. It's Kate Richburg and Janice Parsons live from beadshop.com.
Yep.
All right, happy Wednesday.
Thank you. Happy Wednesday
Thank
to you too.
You know, we were saying, oh, and you guys, before I get any further, Grace, who is our wonderful graphics designer here at beadshop.com, is doing all the filming, and she reminded me to ask you guys. So we know that we've had some comments on our YouTube channel and sometimes in the comments here on our Facebook Live about the volume. And so we have a brand new microphone that hopefully is helping. So I would love to hear your feedback. You guys were working on the quality of our filming and all kinds of great stuff like that. So hopefully this microphone is helping. So let us know. Yay, thumbs up if you think it's a good improvement. So we'll still try to project, but hopefully our mic is going to be a big help. We hope so. But as always, we thank you so much for joining our worldwide beading community here at beadshop.com. We have some great things planned for you today, something that's near and dear to both Janice and I, both of our hearts. But before we jump in, I've got a couple of orders of business to chat about. First of all, we had a customer, I think it's Elza, E-L-Z-A. I'm going to say that's Elsa. Elsa, maybe.
So pretty.
And so I'm going to have you hold that up, Janice. That is a piece that Elsa, she said, we made her venture out of her comfort zone.
Oh, fun.
So she emailed me this photo. So I thought I'd just print it out. And the thing that she was worried about, she said that she was worried with this Odyssey project. It's a piece that we did a few Facebook Lives back. She was worried a little bit about the silk wrap.
Oh.
But we pushed her out of her comfort zone. Okay. And she was really excited that we did.
It's fun, isn't
right?
it?
And she sent in this really great finished piece. We loved it. She also had a question, though, about that. And I answered her, but I wanted your answer on it as well. With this Odyssey project, we usually use the waxed Irish linen. She was asking about using Ceylon. And I thought that regular and fine weight Ceylon would also work with this project. It would hang a little differently.
Yes, it would.
It might not be it might be a little swingier because it's not waxed. And maybe it might be a good one if you're adapting this Odyssey as a necklace. It might be great to do it on Ceylon.
It would work. I think that what keeps the Ceylon possibly from unraveling after wear would be the knots along it. I don't think it would also hurt to wax the Ceylon, to just give it a little coating. But even that with wear will wear off. But I would love someone to try it. I don't know why it wouldn't work. It's a really sturdy cord,
and it comes in so many colors.
Oh, a million colors. And then when you're wrapping it, you're not going to really notice it's linen or Ceylon once it's on your wrist. Can you see it, Grace?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
We have a bunch of hellos.
Hello.
And a lot of people saying, thank you for the mic. It is much improved.
Oh, great. Good.
We have hellos from Maryland, Dallas, Colorado, Alaska. They said that it was snowing, so they were so happy to tune in.
Oh,
Pennsylvania.
great.
A lot of people are excited for this episode today.
Great.
And hello from Gwen.
Oh, hi, Mom. How are you, Mama? It's good to see you.
And is Eli, Andrea, are you out there?
Are you out there yet?
Hello
Hopefully
to
they'll
my
jump
grandson.
on.
I'm going to see you tomorrow in Virginia.
I know. That's so exciting.
So excited. He's turning 4. Or he is 4.
Yeah,
but he's having his
turned
birthday
4.
party.
So exciting.
Yeah.
So Elsa, thank you so much for sending this in and for prompting those questions. So if you guys, this is a great one also I wanted to mention, we mentioned it last week, but if you do have pieces, we would love to see them. You can always email them. If you go to our Beader Showcase page,
Yep.
we talked a little bit about that last week. But if you click on the Beader Showcase page from the home page, there's all that information about how to enter your pieces in Beader Showcase. And you can also just email me at kate@beadshop.com. I'll
We
be
got
glad
a
to look
lot
at them.
of-
We did.
A lot of emails
a lot of
with
great
people show and telling. It was
great
wonderful.
projects. We also have, I've got a couple things. So we're taking a little break next Wednesday. We actually are moving our Facebook Live date from next Wednesday up a few days to Sunday. Yeah.
What is the date? It's the 29th?
It's the 29th.
Right.
And
January 29th.
January 29th. Same time though, 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. And Grace and I are taking this show on the road. We're going to be in Tucson.
I know.
So it's going to be live from Tucson, Arizona. And I'm going to be doing two things for you guys. One, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Tucson gem shows. I've been going to the gem shows, well, since we've been going since I started working for you since 1992.
Right.
So, and as you are a veteran of the gem shows, as am I, so there's a lot of really great tips and tricks. And what's the number one trick or tip, Janice?
Well, nose spray.
Nose spray. That's right.
It's so dry in Tucson. You can go to any Walgreens or drugstore and get saline spray.
And you guys think we're kidding, but we
No.
are not.
You're on your feet all day, so comfortable shoes and a place to elevate at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Elevate your feet so that
So
and
you
then
can
you're
rest.
teaching.
Yeah,
Are
I
your
am.
classes?
I am.
Your classes?
My classes are filling up, so we've got a couple of opportunities. I'm doing a really great thing, and some of you guys have heard it, and I'll post it on our Facebook page. We are participating in the Beads of Courage fundraiser, and I'm going to be there, one of the 5 instructors who will be teaching. It's Wednesday night, February 1st, and we're making our number one project, Janice
All time.
designed of all time. It's our Tahoe bracelet, and so all of the participants, you're getting 5, you go kind of round robin with 5 different instructors. We're doing the Tahoe, and so that Beads of Courage, I think there's still space. Tickets went on sale a couple of weeks ago, and there's only 60 spots available, so I'm not sure if it's sold out yet or not.
So you go to beadsofcourage.com.
beadsofcourage.com.
And then there's something. I'm translating for all of those out there my age. You go to beadsofcourage.com.
That's right.
And then there's something about Tucson. And
It's
then you click on that.
It's called Katie Hacker's Bead Party.
Oh, good. Thank you for mentioning
Isn't it nice?
Okay, I might not have found it.
Maybe.
Katie Hacker's Bead Party.
It is.
And then you can register there, correct?
And I'll put a link on our Facebook page.
Okay, these
as
youngins, they just go through things
quick.
so quickly.
Quick on the button.
Yeah.
And and so classes are going well.
Great.
You can find, and so I'll link all of those later on our Facebook page, just so you guys have those links. So any questions, Gracie, before we jump in about color?
Not about color. When you guys were talking about the Odyssey, Debbie says, never thought about waxing the Ceylon. I've knotted necklace repair, and that will help.
Oh, great.
And Kathy's saying her dream is to go to Tucson one day. And Melissa says, since she's moved from Washington State to Arizona, she totally gets the nose spray and eye drop thing.
See, it's true. Flip-flops and nose spray, I'm telling you. And we have one more teaser
about the retreat.
Yeah.
Because people could mark their calendars.
So, we've talked about this for years. You and I have talked about this forever. We're going to make a bead shop dream come true this year. Janice and I talked about it. We talked about it with the staff, and we're jumping in for our first ever beadshop.com Beaders Getaway retreat.
A retreat.
And it's going to be near here in the Bay Area, and it's going to be that weekend. It's in September 15th, 16th, and 17th, that weekend.
Right.
And the 17th happens to be my birthday.
Oh.
So you can come spend my birthday at our bead retreat.
Oh, that'll be fun.
It'll be really fun.
Yeah.
I'm turning 30 again.
You don't look
It'll be a day over. Yeah. But we'll give more. It's just a little teaser. We'll have more info about that. We have limited spots for it, but it's going to be really fun.
It will.
I think
It
we're
will.
really looking forward to it.
And we'll also do Facebook Live from there.
Yeah, oh,
which
for
will be
sure.
fun.
Yeah, we'll Facebook Live from the retreat.
Right.
So those of you who can't join us will be able to join us anyway. So, okay, this is an epic project we are undertaking.
It is. It is.
And so the whole reason behind kind of what we're starting today, this starts our Bead Along project that we're going to start on February 15th, and we're going to go for 2 weeks, the 15th and the 22nd, and we're going to be doing this special project that we're doing in honor of Nicole Anderson.
Right.
So that's kind of what today is kind of kicking off. So Janice, talk a little bit about
Sure.
the memorial project we're doing, and we'll jump in from there.
Sure. So, Nicole Anderson, who was one of the team, a really incredible designer, artist, dear friend and colleague, passed away unexpectedly this April. She was 33. It was just a shock to all of us. And she used to work at the bead shop. She taught classes. She worked in the store. And when I closed the store, Nicole was the person who came with me, helped me, fold everything up. And then with no training whatsoever, she has so much talent that she had. She became a webmaster, and she helped me design the new website, which is really the new beadshop.com. And she and I worked when we downsized because we had to close the stores. We worked out of my dad's house, and we did videos there, and we filled like 3 or 4 orders a day. It was just an amazing human being. And then we were joined by Brittany Ketchum, who used to also work at the store, and we were like the 3 musketeers. And it was us for a long time, and then it just started picking up. They did all kinds of videos. Nicole filmed silk wrapping. She's the one who created 5-stitch herringbone wrap. She taught classes. She loved jump rings. She was just a prolific jewelry designer, and it was always like Nicole to come in on a Monday morning with a new project that she did over the weekend. I mean, she was extraordinary, and her passing is a loss to us. It's hit us all hard. Brittany, who was very close with Nicole, decided, hey, when we were at her service, we thought, how can we honor her? And so we decided to do a project that we're raising funds for the SPCA of San Mateo County, the Humane Society. Nicole would love to rescue birds, bring home stray dogs. So with Brittany's help, and then we'll jump into this, Brittany put together 3 collages
beautiful color palettes
of Nicole's Pinterest boards. The first one was this purple, and she loved all of these kind of purples and lavenders and wisteria. She was very into the marine biology. So these are things that Nicole pinned, and then Brittany put the boards together. She loved Marilyn Monroe. In fact, when she got married, we went to her wedding was a theme wedding, and she dressed up like Marilyn Monroe, and Robert dressed up like Clint Eastwood. And then she also loved blue greens and birds, and just she had a sense of color that was so delicious. And I think that Brittany did an incredible
they're
job
really beautiful palettes
of putting those together. And then I sent both Brittany and also Becky Tenike, who worked with us when we first started beadshop.com, when we were then moved to my apartment, and Becky joined us, and we had 1 bedroom for shipping, and it was just a crazy time. So I palleted the purple one, and the peachy gray pink one, and I sent Becky beads, and I sent Brittany. They both live a little out of the area, not right here, so I had to ship them. I sent them a whole assortment of things, and then they picked what they wanted and created
these two
bracelets. Both
pieces.
Yeah, they're based on the 5-stitch, which is one of Nicole's probably the most recycled project that we have. It is the base for setting the mood. It's the base for a lot of the beater showcase have some of these stitches. It's Bollywood has come off of it. 2 stitches come off of it, and there's just a number of stitches. I'm going to bring a board over here so we can just see this. This was the one that Brittany did, and it's just a lovely bracelet, and it's got so many stitches in it. It's you know, it goes on and on and on and on. And then Becky's, you want to, I'll move this away and then you can show Becky's.
This one, and it's one that we did a sneak peek of a few weeks ago when we had first gotten it in.
And we said, look how this looks, just like put this with that, and
with
you're,
the mala, it's perfect.
So so these 2 samples are going up as projects next week. What we decided to do in order to be able to raise funds for the SPCA easily and effortlessly was to create three kits based on Nicole's stitches that any level could do. That because both the one Brittany did and Becky did, they're advanced projects. There's no doubt about it. Don't try to do it as your first project ever. You should put this on with it.
I'll put it on with it.
But this is something, it has a handout, it's step by step each one, and so this is the order that the kits are. So we're offering these now for sale. $10 is of each kit sold is going to the SPCA of San Mateo County. This one is called Grace. This is Beauty, and that's Kindness. And then in 2 weeks, I guess it's 2 weeks, February 15th,
starting on the 15th,
we're going to, so you can order your kit now, and we're going to ship it February 3rd, and then by the 15th you can have it, and we're for 2 weeks going to make them
through all
step by
these 5
step.
stitches. So it'll be really fun.
Yeah.
I think one of the kind of interesting things about this also, and when this project goes up, this was something that we kind of grappled with a little bit. We got these great pieces from both Brittany and Becky, and they're so amazing. So if you do want to, you know, jump in with something that's a little more advanced, these are great. But we also thought, you know, if we streamlined this and we made it in these 3 great colorways that kind of work with these palettes, it's a great way, I think, to see what, when you use the same materials, but how color can really change the personality of a piece. You know, and it was really fun. This was the one that I made, and I had a great time putting it together.
And I wanted to, because Brittany and Becky were close with Nicole, and I wanted to honor the designs that they created, but I also knew that, for instance, some of the beads that were used, when we put it in a kit, the hole sizes are kind of funny, and now that we're selling 50 or 100 or 150 of a kit,
we wanted these to be no-tier kits,
no-tier kits, and so we had to modify it. So this is Brittany's, and then this is, and I think it's a good representation of what she did. I hope I've honored, you know, through this new design. So,
well, I think it's great, and I think it's
that looks. Look at that.
Yeah, look, I love this. I love this piece. That's why I wanted to make this one. So
I know.
I'm just going to stack them all up. I want to wear all the bracelets. But it was a really fun project. It was a big undertaking for us, for sure. And Janice, you and Brittany did some amazing work on this. If you want to see, if you go to the Facebook landing page, you guys, for this week, It has links to all 3 kits, and it also just has picture maps of each, project maps of each of them, just so you can see them. But if you go to each individual kit page, all of the details are there. Some step-by-steps are there.
Right. It's
so
also up as a project now.
Right.
If you don't want, if you have things at home and you want to make it with what you have, or you want to do it in a
You can
different color,
follow the project.
it's all up now as a project on our project page.
But the great
With a
thing about
handout.
with the handout, the great thing about these kits are is they are a limited edition. You get everything to make these exact pieces, and that's what we're going to be working from when we do our bead along.
And then the money goes to
and then we have that
Rescinding,
great
SPCA.
donation
Okay.
to SPCA. So that's a little bit of the
So
background.
thank you for listening.
Yes.
Thank you for staying tuned.
And question, Grace?
So, Suzanne said she loved Nicole's videos and style. She said as a new beater, she learned a lot from them.
Okay.
She said, how about an amazing beaded dog collar for contributing to shelters? She would love a tutorial. Several people said that they liked that idea. And Robin asks, where are Nicole's videos? Where does she find them?
They are listed on the landing page for the project. And they're listed also in the handout.
Yeah, and if you go to our YouTube channel, you can see that's where all of our videos are grouped also on our YouTube channel. So if you go under all videos on our YouTube channel, you'll just see all the videos there, and it says, who is hosting them.
Unfortunately, some of the projects have been taken down because, and they were from our old website, and we don't have the property, and we don't have the handouts anymore. But we did actually make a dog collar.
Oh.
We had a dog collar for her spunky little dog Emmett, who used to come in every day, and we made it out of kimono cord. And I will dig up the photo I have of Emmett wearing this silk wrapped kimono cord collar.
Oh,
It's
that'd be
amazing.
awesome. Oh, I'd love to see that. That'd be great.
But some of the learning we just don't have anymore because we don't. This was from 2010. We don't sell the beads anymore, or we can't get the product in the way we used to.
But a lot of those videos still do live
Yes.
on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there's a cube on the home page that says Remembering Nicole, and that will take you to a landing page that tells you about Nicole, and there's a list of her projects that are posted.
Great.
So you've answered the question, where are these kits located, so we can find them in the kit section too.
Yes.
And Cindy wants to know if that's an Odyssey you're wearing as a necklace, Janice.
No, this is a Tricks of the Trade.
Yes.
That's what we're going to talk about
And
today.
let's just vamp right into it then.
Are there any other?
Well, I just wanted to point out we had hellos from Nova Scotia. We had hellos from Colombia, Mexico.
Wow.
Suzanne is from Poole. We have Lakeport, Switzerland.
Suzanne was one of our
Spain.
Beater Showcase people, I think,
She
right?
was,
yes.
I'll
I'll just put it
had. Let's see, one more thing. Oh, Candy Cooper says hi.
Hi, Candy
Candy.
Cooper. Candy Cooper, I'm going to post a link to your fabulous Tucson classes. So thanks for the shout out. We appreciate it.
And Cindy says, great segue.
Oh, yes,
For you.
Excellent. All right, well, let's jump in. Tricks of the Trade is your signature class, really.
Yes.
It is a class that you have taught for years and years. I have taught a version of kind of a similar kind of a color class, but for us,
Can we move it?
color is what, or this piece, Grace,
Both.
do you want? The color is what Janice and I use as a starting point more often than not, right? And so
Yes.
this is something that sometimes I think when you're trying to create your own designs or trying to jump in and figure out what you're making, I think sometimes people put the cart before the horse.
Yes. Yes.
It's like, what am I going to make? What am I, what, I have these beads now, how do I actually string them together? Or what am I going to make? I tell my students to take a moment. We have to start creating with color. And so let's take a look at color because color and the beads, like you always say, Janice, the beads lead you to where you want to go.
Right.
Right?
If you get the color, everything else follows.
Right.
You don't have to worry about a thing.
And
Get the color.
And the piece will follow.
Yeah. It just, yeah.
And I think that sometimes people worry about, well, what kind of clasp am I going to put on this? Or is it going to be a necklace? Or is it going to be a bracelet? Or am I going to make a bunch of earrings?
Well, imagine you're an artist and you have a big canvas in front of you. Do you stand in front of that canvas and the first thing you say is, where am I going to put my signature?
Right.
You know, like I want the house up in the left-hand corner, and then I want the, you know, the path to go. No, that's not how it works. You start the process, the creative process takes you someplace, and at the end, when you're happy, you put your signature on. You don't worry about where am I going to sign the painting?
Right.
What is it going to look like when I mean, because you get stuck. You get, you know, and so many beaders. I mean, if I could count the, okay, 38 years of doing this times like, I don't know, maybe at least 200 or 300 students a year at the shop. Multiply that, how many students?
It's a lot
and
of
some
students.
of you are out there today.
Yes.
And you know, you get stuck at the beginning and then you start cutting it up and you get stuck. And my motto is always, if you're working on something and you get stuck, don't keep pushing through stuckness. Go around it. Find a door. Like if you're doing a multiple strand and you go, I don't know what I want to put on next. Stop. Don't put anything on. Go to another cord.
Right, go to another strand.
Start someplace else, or put it down for a minute and say, okay, let me pick out, I haven't picked out the button yet. Let me stop for a few minutes and go look at my button selection. Or, you know, just walk away from it for a second before you're just quick to rip it up.
Yeah, and that's one of the things like we talked about last week with earrings, and earrings kind of dovetails right into this, goes hand in hand with what we were doing. You know, if you remember when I was putting those earrings on the head pins, the beads on the head pins, and kind of comparing them, so I had some things to compare. It's kind of the same thing here with the beads. You
It's
know,
very much the same.
We start jumping in, like when my mom and I, when we make quilts together, we talk about auditioning the fabric, where we pull the fabric out, we take a look at the big picture that the fabric makes. It's the same thing with these beads. We're auditioning the beads.
Well, why don't we actually audition for this palette?
Okay.
Let's bring over Brittany's palette, the one that she worked on for Grace. And this handout is linked on Facebook
It is.
Live.
It's linked on Facebook Live.
It's in our skill builder section.
And it's, yeah, our class handout section.
Right. And this is, some of this may be a little dated because this was done in the shop in actually 2010. But this is how we work through the process. And so we're going to actually ask some of you out there if you've got some ideas. We're looking at this palette now, and the first thing that I always ask students and what I do is come up, like I always say, the color's right, the design will follow. Can you come up with, maybe you can start this off, Kate. We're going to come up with some adjectives. The first thing to do in this is you get some kind of inspiration. Fabric, a floral arrangement, a photograph. It can be a photograph of anyone even, and use that. What are some of the adjectives you would say for this?
I see first, from this, I say soft.
Soft, okay. I see fragrant.
Fragrant.
I see kind
That's a
of
good
like
one.
it emotes fragrance.
I think it also, I want to say, there's almost like, I don't know if wistful is the right
Wistful?
word, but yeah, wistful.
Wistful. I see drapey.
Drapey.
It's a feeling of, it's, you know, it's soft, it's fragrant. I see romantic. Does
romantic.
anybody out there have any thoughts you want to, we'll add it to the
Movement,
list?
Whippy, serene, and opulent.
Serene.
Serene, opulent. Anybody else?
So far, that's it.
Okay, so
Those are some good words to start with,
yeah,
I think.
harmony.
Harmony.
I feel like you know, it's so this is an exercise. You're not going to be graded on it. There's no
wrong answer.
Lovely, calm,
Calm.
natural. I said lovely the first one.
Okay.
Those are the other three.
Natural. Great.
Okay. So
Regal.
So all this is it loosened us up, okay?
So this is on just the second page of the handout.
Right.
And we've just filled that in there.
Right. And then now the next exercise is draw the shapes. And so there are these these
I see
beautiful
curves.
teardrops.
Right. I see teardrops.
Curves.
I see. I do see some lines. Like there's lines.
Right. Lines. I see dots. They're dots.
And I see contrast.
Contrast. Okay. So, and I also love that shell. That this beautiful and
Scallop.
look at how that creates even a herringbone pattern.
A herringbone feel to it.
Yeah. So, and then there's that feeling of scallop shells like this. They're repeating. And then how do you feel when you look at the source?
This source makes me feel. I think it's a happy. It's a happy palette. I think it's a calming product palette.
A few of our viewers say healing, peaceful.
Peaceful.
It's just beautiful.
And I think there's also a little bit of this also with these shells and these colors. I find purple always is exciting to me. I feel it's a color that when I see it in nature, especially blue, like if you see a blue flower in nature, at least for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, that really, it's striking to me.
So one of my little tricks to color is that when I say green, every green goes with every other green. And usually I get a giggle out of this because I go, if you go out in nature and you're looking over a field and hills and everything, I go, does Mother Nature, did she say that green doesn't go with that green? Does that green not go with that brown? You can put every green with every other green. And every color works with every color. So don't be afraid of color.
Do not be afraid of color. And the thing that you want to think about, what Janice is talking about, is also think about big picture. We're talking big picture here, you guys. We're not talking about bead next to bead next to bead. Not yet.
So then the next part of, and I'll bring this up here so you can see it a little closer. The next thing is you would take your, whatever your inspiration is, and now notice, you're not even stringing yet.
There's no stringing.
No stringing. All you're doing is you're using your inspiration and you're laying out a color wheel that picks up the colors in your inspiration. If we go back to Nicole's Pinterest board, the purples are really obvious, but then you start to go, wait a second, there are these beautiful creams, there are tans. Look at this bright, sharp lime green in there. They're nice
There's
browns.
some metallics.
The metallics and the nail polish. Pretty pinks. So that it's not just
Purple.
It's not just surface. Now, Brittany chose to use the purples and the silvers in her sample. That's a choice you could make because I sent her a complete palette of other colors as well. The same with Becky. Becky was, if you look at Becky's, I sent her also more blue greens. I sent her some blacks, and she chose to limit her palette. And I think they did that to really honor Nicole because Nicole would have made an all lavender or an all peach gray sample. So that's the next thing you do. So you're going to come around. We haven't even started picking up string yet. We've come around and you're going to create a color wheel. And then the next thing, after you've done that, then the fun comes in.
Yes.
And that's called making music.
Oh, question right here, Gracie.
Where is this handout located?
So it's linked to two places. If you go to our Facebook Live page, there's a Tricks to the Trade. There's a link on that page for Tricks to the Trade, which is what this handout's called. If you also go to our project page on the website, right under Skill Builders, if you click on Skill Builders and go to Class Handouts, Tricks of the Trade is one of the class handouts that's listed there.
And I also think that maybe what we should do is post it at the top of projects, for at least for a limited amount of time. So we'll do that today. But it's I think it's in the third row on projects is Skill Builders, and in Skill Builders you open that up in class handouts. We're getting so many emails of, oh, I wish I could search the projects, and I'm going, we're saving up our pennies to be able to get, a web developer to do that.
What?
Oh, you did. Oh,
thank you,
good.
Karen.
Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Karen, and we are missing today. Some of you know our friend Gita from Denmark. Our Gita, she's feeling a little under the weather today, so we miss her not being there on it, posting it. So Gita, a little shout out to you. Hope that you're feeling better, and we'll see you next week.
Okay,
so let's lay out these beads then.
Let's just say, and I have this really nice board that we call the Ultimate Design Board, but you could do this on a paper towel. You don't have to have an expensive board to do this.
You know what I do sometimes? I do this in a big bowl, so my beads run together.
Oh, you're doing mixing.
When I mix, and then I will mix them all together, then I'll go to this part.
Oh, okay.
So it's just kind of a fun way to do it.
Yeah, well, I agree.
I agree. No, she doesn't. Deep down, she doesn't agree. She's like a bull. No, Richburg, you're crazy.
No, I'm just saying that for new beaders to get to the point where they're more advanced and they feel confident, I feel like these kind of exercises help them open up to the notion of, I can be a jewelry designer.
No, it's really true.
So if you think of your beads like musical notes, you can go, like bing, 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 and then you add another note on the piano, bing, 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 etc.
Right.
Okay, I won't
get that.
belabor it.
No, it's good.
But again, we're still not stringing.
Right.
All we're doing is we're laying out patterns. And so you can take this and I liked what you did last week when you talked about keeping the earring wire, the beads on the head pins before you took it apart. So what you could do is you can make a row of just one thing, and then you say, oh, I kind of like that, I'm going to leave it. But then if you're going to do this at home, you're going to start to see what happens when you put different beads together. Then I will, and this is all in the handout. I'm not going to bore you with it because it's really a pretty complicated.
It is.
Like going
it's one of Janice's
brain.
It's like one of Janice's epic tomes, her epic handout.
So like I like to go, okay, so what happens if I put two together? And then I'm all about in designing bookends. I love the idea of bookends. And so then I start going, oh, well, what happens if I go like that?
One of the things that I do this when we're designing kind of what I like to call this epic necklace project, I tell my students, you can lay out these pieces all day long and kind of get into it and mix them around. But I feel that beads really come to life when you put them on the thread.
Right.
That's their natural habitat. Well, beads' natural habitat is actually the floor. But beads do, I think, you have to see them on thread. So I'm going to put some of these that I've done here.
Now, will you also try this same pattern, but then put a little spacer?
And I'll just come right along and kind of see how things look.
Quick question.
Yep.
What thread are you using?
You're using just micro sealer.
I am, and I've just doubled it over. This is, now you can use to audition your beads anything that you have that might be quick and easy for you to string on. Like if you have nylon coated wire, you can string on. I just did a little doubled over micro seal-on and tied a needle, put a needle on the end and tied a knot over here.
So would you hand me the paper and a pen? I just want to talk a little bit about...
And I'm going to string some of these up so we can see how they look.
One of the things we all start to do, especially as beginner designers, even advanced designers, is we have a tendency to start at the back of the necklace. And one of the beauties of designing like this, even you can do this when we've talked about this, I think, for looming, how you set up your loom.
You can start in the center.
We all think that we have to, we've got to come down, and I know Karen, who loves to loom. She works here. She's our webmaster. She loves doing patterns, and she gets like a bit of the pattern done and then goes, oh no, I can't finish it. I went too far. If you start your loom project instead in the middle, and there's nothing stopping you from looming from here versus here at the end.
Starting in the middle, working your way out.
You get this much done, and then you can add your threads here, and then do your design going this way, and then go do your design that way. So when you're doing your patterns and you're creating, it's easiest to see on a necklace, but it also works on a bracelet. If you, instead of going, okay, I'm going to start a pattern back here, but think of the pattern starting in the center. And whatever the pattern is, there's also a really, I think, a good handout on tricks to patterning in the class handout section. And it starts with patterning from the center and going up. And whatever you do, doesn't matter. I don't care what your pattern is. Blah, 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 your pattern. If you mirror that on the other side, it's going to look fantastic.
That was one of the ways when I did this earring. Just looking at this earring is just like a little tiny necklace. So the way that I did this just on a piece of Softlex.
Right.
So the most important thing, a lot of times, the say something thing on your piece is in the center.
Right.
Like this earring, the briolette here is the say something piece, and these little wrapped pieces I did. And so I started it here, because had I started stringing it here and then tried to figure out what was going on, I would still be designing this earring.
Right.
So I think it applies across the board, not only for necklaces, but for bracelets and for earrings. Start in the center.
Right. Okay. And then, so assuming that everyone's going to, at some point, go through this handout, I just want to talk about the next thing. Beading is like driving on the freeway.
That's right.
And Odyssey is a perfect example of that. So when I talk about beading on the freeway, so we're doing a multiple strand necklace. You don't want to put, like, just on the freeway, you don't want to be between two gigantic trucks. And Eli, if you're out there, you know exactly what I mean. You want to stagger, what we would call trucks, so that if you have to change lanes, you're not blocked. And it's the same thing with beading. You want to stagger, and in Odyssey, when you're going through and you're knotting on your beads, you want to look at what is going on next to you. So this is a really easy way to, when you're developing a design, a multiple strand design, that you don't put all of your, let's say you're putting cubes on. You're going to use cubes. You don't want all of your cubes, unless you do. You don't want all of your cubes like right there. So by stringing one strand to the point where you go, I don't know what to do next,
Then you switch lanes.
you put a piece of tape over that one, you start your next strand, and then you go, okay, I'm informed. I know that I have a cube here. I want to move along a little bit. So when you allow yourself to think of it as one strand at a time, and then they work together, your previous work tells you what to do next.
Right.
It just,
And I think of it also as, it's almost like the little piece of it's like a jigsaw puzzle. you're building this and finding what fits in. We
Right.
talked about last week about negative space and the shape of the beads.
Right.
And so that's how, that really comes into play. Not only is it the shape of the beads that are on this single strand, but also the next strand next to it. What
Right.
fits in
Right.
into the little nooks and crannies.
Right. So that. Oh, do you have a question?
No, I just wanted to comment. Cindy says designing from the ends always ends up, she says ends up too long or too short. And Karen's asking like a checkerboard. And I think she's referring to your cube
Right.
thing here.
Hi, Karen. So what is Karen saying? So first Cindy is saying that they end up too long, right?
Yeah, she says if you start on designing on the ends, it always ends up too long or too short. But I think Karen was referring to, she was viewing a little bit later, and she said like a checkerboard. I think that was in response to
what we've got going on here.
The handout talks quite a bit about length, and on page 5 about how to calculate the length. It's so important to have a tape measure with you at all times, so that you can
Try it on.
You can
figure out your
measure.
length.
And of course, we don't have a tape measure with us today, but the way you measure, especially for a necklace, is you decide where your center wants to be, and so you take your tape measure from where you want your pendant or your focal bead to be, and then you work your way up to the back. You take your measuring tape, and then you lay it there, and you go right to the center of the back of your neck, and that will give you, your length.
A good length. And one of the things that I always say, these aren't like single strand, like little quickie necklaces. So just like a couture dress, would you would go to the dressmaker and you'd try it on several times.
Yes.
It's the same thing with a multiple strand masterpiece necklace like this, is that it does need to be fitted several times. Sometimes in class we use necks, and we hang it up there, we pin it up there, so you can kind of see it kind of in action. Some
Right.
people have like a bust. We have one here, and it's great just to kind of lay that necklace out to see how it's going to lie.
Right. And then you have to factor in the length of your button loop, or your clasp in the back, and add like half an inch if you're crimping, or you're knotting off. So all of that will factor in a bit to the length. But I've seen more people not wear jewelry because the length was long. We used to do that fun thing with a long strand of pearls in the shop.
And we would size the length.
So you can do this at home with like a strand of beads. Stand up in front of a mirror. It helps to have a friend there, and you take like a strand of pearls, and the person behind you can hold it, and then you don't look at the beads. Look at your face in the mirror and see what happens when you move those beads up and down. What happens to your face? And there are like 2 or 3 magic measurements for the right
We should
length
do that
for you.
sometime.
Yeah,
That would be really fun.
That would be fun
one.
to do.
Yeah. Because
and
that
you'll
was always
find-
really a cool thing.
Yeah, you'll find that
class.
there's a magic number. Like mine is 15 3/4. That this is 15, maybe 16. Most people are 17 or 18.
Yeah, mine is about 18.
Yeah,
17 3/4.
And it'll frame your face, and that's why the number one reason we wear jewelry is because it makes us look beautiful. Whether it's on our wrists or on our necks or on our ears, there's a right length for your earrings. It gets too long, and then it's like not attractive. Like, I can't wear those. I look like Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl. Not Barbara Streisand, who looked great, but like the really old lady who was at the back of the theater going, "Stop talking so loud."
So that's where you get that persona.
Yes, that's
from
what
when
I
you
get,
when I
yes.
know that I'm in trouble, when
My
Janice
Aunt
puts her
Anne,
dangling
my Aunt Anne.
her dangly
So,
earrings.
Yeah, so this is kind of, so what you've done here is you've added some spacers, some metal
spacers, yeah.
that will change the look of it, adding a new shape in.
I want to talk a little bit about the beauty of tiny beads as well.
Especially at the end when you have multiple strands.
And can you see here, just with these little strands, Gracie, can you get that
Can you
okay?
just move them up on the board a little?
This way? My arms are short. There we go. So down here, I've just strung, Janice has put out a bunch of little spacer beads, and I think about this kind of palette that she's laid out, kind of like, you know, when you're cooking and you kind of do your little mise en place, right? You have your salt and your herbs and your things that you throw into your piece. So I really think that tiny beads like this, we've got some 11-aughts, we've got some, looks like 2mm or 8-aught or 11-aught seed beads there, some of the little shadows, and just a little mix of tiny beads I think makes such a big difference. And you can see I've just randomly strung these. I seem to have liked things in pairs, but I pretty much just randomly strung those. And you can see here on this side of this strand how I've just strung up some of these little book-ended pieces that Janice had. And then I added just a little bit of metal to the design right there. And the thing about little spacers, I feel, and we've talked about it before, is that spacers are like a comma in a sentence. It tells you, or it tells your eye where to take a pause. And it also really sets off the size and the shapes of the beads. And you don't have to do it. I was heavy-handed. I did it every single time there, but it's a nice way to show metal. And also, I use these metallic seed beads here. So you can see there's a little bit of metallic, but I've also added just a little Hishi spacer around each bead here. And so you can see the contrast between these beads and these beads here. So it starts to help you audition the beads and figure out how you're going to use them.
Before we move on, I do want to just share that we didn't even show this additional palette,
Let's move that in.
which I'm going to get out the collage again, that all of this, in addition to these purples and blue greens, all of these other colors are in Nicole's Pinterest board. It's
So
like,
let me ask you this question here with this palette then, Janice. What was the first bead? Like if I move these, what was the first bead out of these that you used? Did you have a starter?
I had this bead.
Okay.
That was my first bead.
Okay. And then where would you go from this? Let's just
I went to cord.
let's just build it. Okay.
Because Nicole's so much around the stitches, I went to the cord, and I went to the leather, and that's what I started with.
And then what did you jump in? Where would you go next?
Then I went and I got the cubes, the gemstone cubes, because
Gives a little bit of sparkle.
and Nicole loved those cubes. Yeah,
And this is also a really great shape.
it is. It's a
Gives you
wonderful
some
shape.
good negative space.
Right.
Then where would we go?
Depends on if I'm making one of the kits or I'm just paletting. I would go with, I would have gone with the gemstones.
Yes.
Because that would have given me that kind of like, you see those little tiny, the pattern isn't a big,
bold.
It's not a view of like the Grand Canyon. It's with wide open spaces. It's lots of little slotting of small ovals, small rondelles, like that make up a bigger pattern, like a bigger shell. So I would go, this to me, I would look for lots of little, the music of multiple notes. And then I would have, personally, I would have put in, I'd like to get in some brown, because I feel like the undercoat coating is brown. And I
These are
might
nice
even
too.
use, I might even use, like, to get that in, I might change that out and pick up like the brown leather. And then what's kind of funny, of course, I would put in this like Amazonite, because that's something Nicole would like. But I would also put in, which is like kind of contrary, I'd put in some of that really pretty. That now is like, okay,
Yeah.
we're cooking with gas, you know. And I put in the silver hishi.
And you can
And,
also,
and Nicole loved this Tyla, so I put in that Tyla.
and so you can see, especially, I don't know if you guys, when you saw when Janice added that green color, it changes the whole palette. Like if we just covered it and just put like that purple there or something, but when we add that green, it adds,
just gorgeous.
it's a visual interest. I always tell people, find a color that you wouldn't necessarily work with, or the color that you might think isn't the most attractive. And when you throw it in the palette, like you can see here, if we kind of work with that,
just like it suddenly takes you to nature. You're suddenly out in that garden of wisteria, aren't you? And then this is the most unusual bead. This is a rare color to find these days. This is called, it's a blend, it's a union, a Miyuki bead, and it's white, opaque, lilac luster. You cannot find this beautiful dusty rose pink, and I would say adding that color into this, although it's not exactly, it's sort of the color of the Tyla beads, but it's just,
it makes a really
it's
nice
romantic,
neutral.
and it kind of like, it lightens it up. It just, so I would say I'm pretty happy with that. I might add this in, and then if you can always add, you know, the dark deep purples. You could do this in Chinese knotting cord rather than in Ceylon. But it's, I would love to see what people do with this. It's just such a,
one of the interesting things that I also sometimes do is I would take out and I would see, like I would take those, and then I might see if I wanted to cool it down with something.
Raise you.
I'll see your,
I'll see you.
I'll
and
see your
raise you.
brown.
Yeah.
There we go. And I'll raise you a little bit of bling.
Right.
And see how that changes up your palette.
Yeah, and then you add this in. Look how that goes with at the bottom. So that's why making that color wheel when you start out is so important. And don't do as we do, which is, you know, where we're looking at them on strands. You really do need to cut them up.
Free them. That's what I say.
You have to free them.
See how that green, if I color that other green and I throw that green in there, what it does.
Yeah.
So this is the process of auditioning the beads. And, you know, sometimes when I don't feel like making anything and I'm having a really good color day, I'll work on palettes.
Yeah, that's a great idea. You could also do a palette of this, of just the greens in there. You could do a palette of just the blues, or, I mean, you can use any inspiration. Fabric, wallpaper, a magazine ad. You would, we have seen everything over the years, because in this class we asked everyone to bring in an inspiration source. We got everything under the book. I mean, under the sun, not under the book.
This is a nice piece too.
Yeah, so that piece is one of the tricks of the trade, using a lot of really nice beads, but it's also where it's paletted and the color is pebbled.
Yeah,
from
color
one to the
reading,
next.
and it's like the we did pebbling also in this loomed piece. And I feel like sometimes if you don't quite then know how to translate this color, doing some color blocking or some pebbling is almost a no-brainer kind of way to start freeing up your design mind, you know, and not worrying about so much, does this bead go with that bead? Just jump in and start stringing it. I love that piece.
Thank you. And if you go to Tricks to Looming, there is some information about how to pebble, because some people go, how do you pebble? And it's, well, sometimes we make it, we think it's easy, but then for someone who hasn't been beading, it's not
a little
so
more
easy.
difficult,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's so. Maybe we should show that in a Facebook
The future,
Live.
that'd
How
be
to
fun.
pebble.
How to pebble.
Yeah.
Questions, Gracie?
A lot of questions.
Okay, let's take some questions while we neaten up our space.
Right.
A more recent question. It wasn't really a question. It was more like a recommendation. And I want to see who wrote it, but it was about having like color blocks on the website for shopping. So I wanted you guys to talk about the color collection.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That was your brainchild, Janice.
Well, I found, and that's a really good question / comment, and we have right now on the homepage a cube for the color collection. When I had the shop, people would come in, and that's the other thing. People buy by color.
And that's
Raise
how,
your hands if
yeah.
you look. You could I like that sweater, but it's in it's in lime green. I'm not going to buy it. But if it were in my color, this, well, I wear lime green, everybody. But let's say it's anyway. We buy by color.
Yes.
We buy cars by color. We buy clothes by color. We buy kitchen counters by color. So we have on the website something that I love doing was creating color collections, and you will see a link both at the top bar for the color collection and also a cube, and then it will take you to everything in blue, everything in yellow, everything in blue-green. So we're excited that we have that because we know that's how you shop.
Yeah, and we talked about it. I did a little bonus Facebook Live. Some of you watched it before the earring episode last week. And I did a quick little talk on storing your beads by color.
Yeah.
And that's how, that's always been my starting point. You jump right in with color. So that's a fun one to watch as well. Looks like you've got another question, Grace.
Many. Marion asks if it's okay to mix expensive gemstones with inexpensive beads and crystals, or is that a no-no?
It's a yes.
Yeah, I think so too. To me, I think that beads they all like to play together.
Yes.
Even in like this piece
Yes.
that's all very, very fine jewels that you have on here, but you also have some seed
Oh,
beads
my
in here,
goodness.
Janice.
Oh,
You've got
yes.
a little trade bead.
Oh, I've got little glass beads.
Yeah, little glass beads.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you can really.
Yeah, it's
Spread
there
that
are
out.
nice beads in there. The most important thing is when you're mixing, like mix shiny with dull, round with square, dark with light, and if it's a bead, you don't want beads that the coatings are going to come off. You don't want beads that are going to chip, but a bead is a bead. It's a bead, and if you like it
And you like what it does in your
And
design,
use it,
use it.
because there isn't anyone who's going to say, oh, that bead doesn't go with that bead. It's your jewelry, you're the designer. Unless you're selling it at Tiffany's and it has to be all gems and all platinum, go for it, girl.
That's what we say.
That's what we do. It's your creativity that's the value, and what you do with it. So
We have an interesting question from Robin who asks, how would you figure out the stringing medium from Ceylon to tough cord? And we had another question related to cord, which was, why even bother with picking colored cord if it's not really going to be visible anyway?
So those are both good questions. I think with the colored threads, I do in my designs or my necklaces or things like this, I do a lot of knotting in my pieces. So you are going to see a little bit of that knotting. I'm a big fan of, that's why I pulled this blue, of doing a thread that's contrasting. Or if, like what Janice did here, was she came in and she did the little loop with thread. So that is kind of coordinates itself into the design.
well, in this particular project,
In this bracelet project.
in this bracelet project, the cord is, what happened to them?
I've got them right here.
The cord is the project. There are very few beads, and it's all about the stitches, and that's why we call this simple stitches in time, because we've used
The cord really
yeah,
is part
the
of the
cord.
focus.
So, but that's a really good question. If you're ever using transparent beads, beads that you can see through, your cord is going to also show through the bead. Even just a little bit, it will tint the bead. When do you use Ceylon versus tough cord? That's a really great question, and we grappled with that with this project, because where are those cubes? This is one of Nicole's favorite beads, was this
semi-precious cube.
Yeah, this cube. Now this cube is beautiful, but it's a gemstone, and the holes are drilled by hand the old-fashioned way,
And they're tiny.
some of them fit on the tough cord. Some of them don't fit on the tough cord. So that's why, you know, we say in the handout to use the KO with a size 12 needle, and to get 2 packages if you're making the project. We didn't even put them in the kit because we can't go through every single bead and check the hole. But some of those things are very critical when you are stringing, that you have an
The right
assortment.
size thread and the
Yeah.
right size thread for it.
So these cubes will work with the KO and a size 12.
I've got it right here.
Right. They won't fit a size 10 because some of them, just take my word for it, I went through bags of these, and so I love them. Where you use the pink? Becky used the pink opal. I don't know. You don't have to take it off, but can you just can we show the pink opal is used in this one? How beautiful they are. The pink opal holes are a bit more forgiving than the
larger.
amethyst.
And it also depends on sometimes how brittle the bead is and stuff too. The different types of drilling methods that they use, but yeah, and I think it also just depends on you know, what type of result you want from the piece. So think about, that's when what actually you're making starts to jump and come into play. You know, am I making a ladder bracelet, so is KO the right thing? Or am I stringing something like this necklace where Ceylon or something might be more appropriate? So think about way back when we talk about kind of the wheel of the, you know, the different things that feed each other into the design. Thread is one of those things where when you commit to the design, you need to think about then which thread do you commit to? What is the purpose of the thread that you're using?
Regarding thread, do you guys worry about the thread getting cut by the rough edges? Like, this is a gemstone cube, so it has a sharper edge. Any feedback on that?
I think that's where seed beads come into play, or beads that are kind of a bicone shape.
It's also how much weight each individual strand is going to get. If you're weaving in and out multiple threads, then they reinforce each other. If you were going to make a full, if you're going to make a full necklace of heavy gemstones, we're going to have a different conversation than KO. My mother used to say that when you plant geraniums in the garden in pots, you don't want a really big geranium in a tiny pot, and you don't want a tiny geranium in a big pot. And it's the same thing with cord. You want to match the size of your cord with the size of your beads. And if you've got big heavy beads, then you have to think about a
big
heavier
heavy cord.
So
and not mixing. Like if I were using like one of our really super big vintage finds necklaces and I were stringing it on some heavier cord, I wouldn't be able maybe to have my spacer bead be a size 11 seed bead. I might have to jump up to a size 8 aught or a 6 aught, right?
Because your knot might have to be your spacer. Exactly. So you have to have an assortment of cords, an assortment of needles, so that when you're ready to string, if one isn't really working, you know, then that's the other thing. Before you commit to your thread, you do want to check your bead holes, especially with gemstones. They're very fine because gemstones are sold by weight. So if the bead makers gave us, you know, large holes, most of their profit would be on the floor. So they give the tiny holes. And so you
bit
have
of
to use
pyrite.
tiny thread, but you need tiny thread that's going to,
That's gonna
stand
last.
up. Yeah. So,
What's the difference between KO and Miyuki thread?
well, they are really the same. They're both Japanese. They're both designed by seed bead artists to work with the Miyuki beads. It's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, so it's basically the same thread.
And it's a real strong thread, this KO. I like to use it, like when we use
Right.
it in the ladder bracelets here. I used it in my ladder bracelet that I did, the peach one. I used it all doubled.
And it's also like Hana. Hana's, some people, so it's also, the Miyuki, the Hana, the KO, and the Naimo D. They're all,
Very similar.
yeah, the Naimo is not Japanese thread, but as far as I know, I think it's American with a super long. But does that answer? I mean, it's just a journey. Thread is an absolute,
Yes.
an absolute journey. But we're all so worried. We all worry about thread,
Yeah, thread.
and hole sizes.
And we did that epic thread broadcast on Facebook
Right.
Live it might have been a month or so, maybe a couple months ago. You can access it on our Facebook Live page. We have all the threads out and we talk about them.
Right.
You can also go to one of our skill builders, our Stitchionary, which is pretty amazing, that talks all about our threads as well.
So if you were going on vacation and you could only take like 1 or 2 threads with you, and you were going to do a beading project, and you only had room for like a little cosmetic bag of all your beads and your threads, what would you, and I guess we can't take needles on the plane, what would you take? What would be the 2
Bam.
threads? You would take Ceylon,
I'd take fine Ceylon.
fine Ceylon, and would you take anything else?
Probably not.
I would take tough cord.
Okay.
I would take
And then we'd sit next to each other so we could trade back and forth.
right. Well, you would have now we'd only be able to take one spool. We can't. So you'd have more choices of color. But my 2 would be size 1 and size 3. So I'd have 2 weights.
Yeah, I might
I
take
think
micro. I'd probably take
micro and
micro and
fine.
fine. Is
Okay,
what I'd take.
yeah.
And
And a flexible eye needle. You could take a flexible or collapsible eye needle. That would be safe on the plane.
one of the things that I also do, and this will kind of be the last tip we'll show before we start to wrap things up, but I did want to share this with you guys, and you guys maybe even have done this yourselves. But a lot of times I use like a heavier weight Ceylon, and if I'm like weaving my beads or I'm stringing like a bracelet like this, sometimes I will use this singly. Especially if it comes together and is supported multiple times along my strand. A lot of times what I do if I can't double this over, because if I use my collapsible eye needle,
Right.
sometimes that collapsible eye needle can't
It's
make
too-
that join.
Right.
It's just
It's
too bulky.
yeah. Yeah. The metal and the thread doubled.
Just doesn't cut it.
Is too much.
Especially.
Yeah, with those little guys. There you go now.
So what I would use is, I would get my hypo tube cement, and I would use a little plastic baggie, and I'd put out a little puddle of hypo tube.
Let me do it.
Little puddle. There we go. I got
it.
Little puddle of hypo tube. And then I would have cut, let's say, all of my strands. Let's say I'm doing something that has 3 strands. And I'd cut those 3 long strands like that. And then I'd lay those 3 strands on my little puddle of hypo tube. And I'd close my
How clever.
little baggie over it. And I would just really rub that hypo cement right in to those threads. Really
and you're
saturate
making it long enough that if you need to cut it because it gets frayed.
I have plenty
You
of
have
needle.
plenty,
Exactly. So then I'm going to pull to get the excess off. I'll just pull them out. I'll leave that folded, and I'll lay these right down right on my baggie so that as they dry, if they stick, it's no big deal. I'll just peel it off. And in about 10 minutes,
You have needles.
I have needles on the ends of my threads. And even sometimes if I use a flexible eye needle on the end of this, I'll do this anyway. And I'll do it, you know, a good inch, inch and a half. Because this also, the Hypo Tube is a nice flexible glue. So it'll also help keep my thread from fraying.
Oh, that's great.
As I do it. So I do this a lot. And then I'll just, after it's all dry, I'll clip it with my little thread scissors and I'll have a nice blunt end that I'm ready to string with.
Fabulous.
Really getting that in there with
I
the
never,
thing.
I mean,
Really?
I've put glue on, but I've never done it that way with the
Little,
little baggie and the, you know, yeah, that's very clever.
thanks.
Yeah. Very clever.
Good
Kate.
tip. Thank you. So, wow, look what we've done.
Yeah. Yeah.
pretty
Someone has
amazing.
to clean all this
Right,
up.
right.
Can you remind us what
Yep.
bracelet you're wearing?
Oh, this one? This one is the...
What's on your that wrist?
Oh, this one?
I think it was this. I think it's the one you were taking off originally.
This one.
Yeah.
So this one is... So just to wrap up,
Right.
we've got a couple for our Nicole Memorial Project. We've got these two projects that were made by Nicole's colleagues, Becky Tenike and Brittany Ketchum. I was looking around for it. That's not it. Where's Brittany's?
It's right there.
Oh, there. It's all the way over there. I've got it. And so these were kind of the original
Right.
pieces, or the original pieces, designs from both Becky and from Brittany. These are going to be on our website, you guys, starting next week. These are not kitted, but they will be links. Pardon me. And you can kind of, you know, shop
Right.
the projects yourself. If you have things at home, however you want to do
Right.
it, but those will be individual projects.
Right.
Then
Well,
we have...
just let me just insert. If between, you know, now and when you get either your kit or you make this, you go to the page 5 Stitch
Okay.
and you go to Herringbone Wrap, which are 2 projects. You can watch the videos this week and see how she did all of these different stitches. They're fabulous.
Yeah, her 5
videos.
stitch video is
So
great. That's how I
right. And then
learned it.
next week, we're going to have the handout that Brittany made for this one, and we'll have the handout, the step-by-step section of this one. But you really, all of these 3, the kits,
Simple
and
Stitches in Time.
they all require that you watch those 2 videos. We just can't say enough about watch those 2 videos, Herringbone Stitch and 5 Stitch, and then when you get your kit or you get your materials and you start making those, you will be ready
It'll
to
be
go.
really ready.
Yeah.
And then we have these 3 kits. These are the Nicole Memorial
Right.
kits, Grace, Beauty, and Kindness, and those are linked on our Facebook page,
Right.
and that's part of what we're going to do to
Honor her, yes.
and make a great donation
Yes.
to our local SPCA in
Yes.
her honor.
Yes.
So
we've been working with them, and they're such nice people. And if you want to donate yourself, that's also
There's a
wonderful.
link
You
there.
can make a contribution in her name. We have a link to the SPCA, Humane Society of San Mateo County.
And so if you want to jump in and get started, the kits are available for pre-sale. You can order them today, and because there are a limited amount, so we
Yeah.
do think that these will probably sell out. And if these will be starting to ship out to you on February
Right.
3rd, and then starting on the broadcast on February 15th,
Yep.
we're going to be doing 2 weeks of these different
Of
stitches.
making them, yeah.
So you can
They're
make them
so
along
fun.
with us.
Yeah.
This week, yeah.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, so this week, just as a reminder, you guys, while we're wrapping up, there's going to be no Facebook Live next Wednesday. You're off the hook, but Grace and I will be doing a broadcast live from the Tucson Gem Show. So you'll see that on the 29th.
So that's actually this Sunday.
This Sunday, yeah.
Not a week from Sunday. This
This
Sunday,
Sunday.
you're in Tucson.
Yeah. soon. I know,
Wow.
time flies.
Yeah.
So that'll be going out. That information also will be going out in the newsletter. I have a special project that we're going to be doing.
Yeah.
There's going to be a really special giveaway that I'm going to be doing, so you are not going to want to miss that. There'll be details in this weekend's newsletters. Also, then next week on the 8th of February, we'll be back on our regular schedule, and I'm going to be back on the Wire train.
I know,
we've got some really
wire.
wire.
Oy
But you're
vey.
not going to believe I've got some great wire stuff for you there. So,
What are we
that
doing
being
to-
said,
what-
we've
yeah.
got a giveaway. We
What?
are going to start people out on making their own palette.
Oh,
So what Jen and Grace, I was out sick yesterday. I had a little bit of a stomach bug. So Grace and Jen took the bull by the horns, so you can get them in trouble this week as I throw them right under the bus. We have a great bead
Isn't that pretty?
palette mix that you can start your own purple palette with. And we have, of course, the fantastic KO that goes
Right,
with it.
right.
So,
how fun.
so the giveaway, I know you guys are all waiting, and the way our giveaways work, you guys, if you go and you, in the next, a little over an hour until 1 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, today, what's the date today? Is the 25th. You make your order on our website at beadshop.com. And in the comments, you write at the end of your order, give me my color mix. You will get your color mix little tube and your KO as our gift to you. And that goes through today at 1 o'clock. And you guys, if you don't watch this live, we love it when you do, but if you can't watch it live and you're like, oh my gosh, I miss all those giveaways, you know what? Sign up for our newsletter.
Yes.
Our newsletter, sometimes on the weekends we have special giveaways. This weekend on Sunday, we'll be doing this on Sunday. We'll have something special for you from Tucson. So don't despair if you miss this live. Grab that newsletter and open it up and make sure you check out our special offers. that we
Don't
do there.
despair for on a number of levels, right?
On a number of levels. Don't despair.
Don't despair.
We've got this. We've got your back. All right, JP.
Wait.
What?
Is there anything else?
No,
That's it?
I actually have another question.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. No, that's it. That's great. But
That's great. Yeah.
And the question was repeated many times.
Yes.
But I kept asking the questions related to beading. Everyone is in love with these square bowls. Can you tell us where they can get them?
Cost Plus.
Is the tag still on the bottom?
There
Yes.
should be.
Cost
Cost
Plus.
Plus World Market. I
And
think.
you know what also is great
I'm pretty
too?
sure they're great for sushi, for soy
Yeah.
sauce,
And your restaurant supply.
restaurant supply.
I always
yeah.
go to like
Yeah.
kind of like the Asian food plate
Yeah.
section.
Yeah.
They're great for that.
Yeah.
We also do have some specials on our Facebook or on our website right now. Chain is on sale, and we've got a great what else is on sale? Charms and pendants. Thank you, Gracie. Are also on sale. So those, you'll find those on sale as well. But we're really excited to have you jump in, buy your own kit. $10 of that kit is going to go right to the SPCA, and we've kitted that at a really, really great price for you.
Yes.
So we hope you really enjoy it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for listening and for supporting.
Our little
This-
reminiscing.
yeah,
Yeah, and we
yeah.
want to know how your color palettes are going, you guys. So even if you throw a color palette together and you want to send us a photo, please do. You
Yes.
can email it right to me at Kate
Yeah.
at beadshop.com or info at beadshop.com is always a great
post it on
place.
Facebook?
Yeah, post it on our Facebook page. We'd love to see
Yeah.
it. All right. Well,
Okay.
that wraps up another epic Facebook Live.
Thank you,
Have a
Katie.
good trip.
You too.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you, everybody. Have a great
Alrighty.
week.
Have a great week, and we'll see you guys from Tucson.
Yeah.
It'll be sunny. I'll be wearing my sunglasses. It'll be awesome.
And holding your nose spray and eye drops.
Right, my nose spray, my eye drops, and my flip flops.
yeah,
That's
flip-
right. All right, you guys.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Thanks. We'll see you soon.